Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Over 40 Freaking Awesome podcast. I am Chris Davidson. This podcast is all about helping guys in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond to thrive again, to get your ass in shape without turning life upside down, using systems, sensible, doable, sustainable things instead of stupid hacks that we may see online so that the habits stick and you can thrive for decades to come. So, I have been lifting weights for over 30 years now. I started in my late teens, and I suppose I've just never really stopped. And now I'm 49. I get guys asking me what my secret is for staying in shape at this age, and they're always fairly underwhelmed when I reply, I just sort of kept turning up. Because that's true. I've applied that lesson, just keep on turning up in other areas of my life as well. And I've realised that lifting weights in the gym has taught me a lot more than just about how to get in shape. So today I wanted to share 7 lessons, I suppose, that over 30 years of lifting weights have taught me about training, of course, but also life, work, relationships, and getting older without giving up on ourselves. So the first lesson is to build a strong foundation first, then add the fancy stuff later. Now, in hindsight, I was quite fortunate that I started lifting weights in 1993, yes, pre-internet. My first weight set came with a big wall chart showing how to do 15 basic exercises. It was a Joe Wider weight set. So really those 15 exercises were all I did. I didn't constantly see snazzier exercises every bloody day online that I wanted to try. I just stuck to a simple plan and I got in shape fairly quickly in my teens. Nowadays, though, when we start back in the gym, we want to do the flashy exercises, the fancy techniques, the advanced programs that we saw some influencer doing online yesterday. But for me, those wall chart basics are what actually matter. Squat, bench, deadlift, rows, overhead press, a bit of arm stuff. If we master those first and build real strength, then we can add the fancy stuff later if we want. And that concept applies to lots of areas of life. If you think about it, we need to master the fundamentals before we start chasing optimization hacks and the latest productivity systems or biohacking nonsense. So for your health, for example, the fundamentals are sleep 7 to 8 hours, eat real food, move daily, manage your stress, and you'll be all good, really. And just for happiness in life, you need to put the work in to build solid relationships at home and at work. Take a bit of time to handle your finances too and build in a bit of you time every week. That's your fundamentals. If life had a wall chart, that would be the basics. So build your foundation first, make it solid, then by all means optimize if you want. Second lesson then is to perfect your form before you add weight. So the only times I have injured myself when working out were entirely my fault. I was doing what is known as dumb shit. I was lifting too heavy. I was doing high impact, jumpy around stuff that I thought would look really cool. And it turned out nobody was watching me anyway until it all went disastrously wrong. It's ego lifting, where you load the bar with weight that you can just about control just to impress others. Get you injured, not stronger. Sensible, perfect form with a lighter weight first as you master the technique. That eventually builds real strength because you learn the movement properly, you engage the right muscles, and you avoid injury. And then you gradually add weight over time and get super strong. Now, in work and in life, doing things properly at the outset matters more than doing them quickly or impressively. As my dad always said, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And for example, building a business the right way needs planning, needs sustainable systems, needs happy customers. You need solid foundations instead of rushing to grow, taking on more business than you can handle and then it all collapses. Or in your job, learning a skill properly by taking the time to understand the fundamentals. That beats cutting corners just to try and look competent faster in front of your boss or colleagues. And then you get rumbled later down the line anyway when there's massive gaps in your knowledge that eventually catch up with you. So form first, speed later. Doing it right beats doing it wrong but fast every single time. Lesson 3 is just keep turning up and doing your best. Like I said earlier, as a 49-year-old fella in decent shape for my age, I do get asked all the time, hey, what's your diet like? What's the workout program that got you in such good shape? What supplements have helped you avoid having a belly. Basically, by staying in the game in some way for 30 years, that's the thing I do not have. I do not have one specific program that I followed at all. And good Lord, I have tried them all. I have failed lots, or most of them really, but I've had enough success enough times that I made progress despite all my balls ups, because I kept turning up and I kept doing something at least a bit productive multiple times every week. And what you'll find is the people that get results in the gym aren't the ones with perfect genetics or perfect programs. As you may know, I have Irish leprechaun genetics, and I'm also constantly changing my programs. So I have problems on both sides, but I've still managed it because it's the people that keep showing up 2-3 times a week, every week, for months and years that stay in shape as they get older. And not every workout will be great, because some days you are going to be tired, some days you're distracted, some days the weights feel heavy, everything's hard, but you show up anyway and you just do what you can. And the same in life. The marriages that last aren't the ones with grand romantic gestures every few months and then silence in between. It's where you both keep showing up and keep on communicating every single week, and you just keep trying to improve things, even though some weeks it's not that exciting. Similarly, to forge a successful career, there isn't one big project that makes you a star overnight in your job. It's from doing good work repeatedly for years until people trust you and opportunities compound, and you keep networking, you keep getting known for being great at your job while putting in the reps. And that's when the big payoffs eventually come, but only if you keep turning up. Lesson 4, the magic happens when you wade through the river of risky shit. Now, I was explaining to my teenage son a few weeks ago my concept of the river of risky shit. Now, of course, I do tell myself that he was listening and learning the whole time, eating up every morsel of wisdom. But as anyone with teen sons knows, you can never really tell what that kind of wee half smile and shrug after a big dad life lesson actually means. But fingers crossed, it hit home for him. So the river of risky shit is what lies between comfortable but underwhelming land and truly rewarding and awesome land. Now, obviously, the latter is the place where most people will say that they want to be, but a lot of the time they aren't willing to get there by wading through the river of risky shit. So in workouts, for example, it is easy to stay within your comfort zone, but that is what's holding you back. How do you get stronger, build muscle? You wade through some hard, nasty, uncomfortable reps, a bit of pain. You go through the river of risky shit and you get to truly rewarding and awesome land, i.e. being in shape. Or let's say you want a better job. Well, you need to be willing to look stupid if you go for it and fail. You need to be willing to present your ambitious ideas to your boss, or you need to be willing to go and network even if you're a bit introverted. Ultimately, you need to go wade through the river of risky shit. And the thing is, growth and opportunities happen in this discomfort, which is why most people avoid doing the hard thing. They stay comfortable, they plateau, and then they wonder why nothing is changing in their life. If you want to grow in life or in the gym, then you need to do the hard reps. You need to take the risk that you're hesitant to take. You need to push yourself into situations that scare you a bit. Push through the discomfort instead of backing away from it every bloody time. If you can wade through the river of risky shit, that is where you're going to find out what you're actually capable of. Then lesson 5, the plateau is where most people quit, so don't be most people. Now, I would love to go back and have a word in the ear of 25-year-old me when I thought, oh, it's really hard to fit workouts in around everything else going on in my hectic life. 49-year-old me now with 3 teenagers, a business to run and a family to keep fed and a body that keeps arguing with me a wee bit would say, you enjoy this, mate, because you are on easy mode right now. Believe me, just you wait. When we started having our kids when I was 30, that was when I began a period of approximately about 10 years where I made zero progress with my strength, fitness and body shape. Yes, I kept on turning up, but my body was running on empty. I was half-assing things because I was so tired. And some weeks my diet was as messy as my kids' nappies. And that's the thing. Progress isn't linear in the gym or in life. You make progress for a while, then you hit a plateau, For example, the weights stop going up because life's getting in the way and your body stops changing. And most people quit there at that plateau because they think, well, it's not working anymore. So maybe they try something else. They start over. They quit again when that plateaus too. But the plateau in anything is where the real work happens, because you need to understand you're not regressing. You're staying in the game. You're consolidating. And when your life and your body get back to normal, you will have another breakthrough, another burst of progress. But only if you embraced the grind and kept looking after yourself as best you could during that plateau. And if your career, your business, or your relationships are important to you, you can't expect things to be rosy and successful all the time. You will have periods of stagnation, but you need to stay in the game. Other people will quit because they don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. But if you know you're doing the right things, lean into these plateaus and you will reap the rewards when the clouds eventually lift again. Lesson number 6, you cannot go 100 miles per hour forever. More is not always better. Now, whenever I'm coaching clients on how to work out, I sometimes need to hold them back from doing too much because they are so keen to get in shape ASAP, very much gung-ho energy. And I always explain to them the importance of balancing intensity, so how hard you train, volume, so how much you do in each workout, and frequency, how often you work out. So if all 3 of those are dialed up to the max, intensity, volume, and frequency, you will get injured eventually. You will hate exercise and your life and everybody in it. So we need to find a bit of balance. So for most people working out, after every 4 or 6 weeks of pushing quite hard, so high intensity, you need a deload week where you dial things down a little bit. It's not pointless this week. It keeps you sticking with the workout habit, but it prevents injury, it prevents burnout. It gives you something different to do for a bit of variety, and it lets your body actually adapt to all the training that you've been doing. And you'll also have renewed energy again the following week when you're keen to get back at it fully, instead of you trying to go hard every single week for infinity. And then you fall into a rut of, oh, not another bloody week of this crap. And what do you know? Life needs you to take deload weeks too. You can't sprint at work forever. You can't be on 365 days a year without consequences. So you need to do things like stop checking your emails at the weekends, take your vacation days and take them properly, disconnect completely, rest, let your brain recover, spend weekends doing fun stuff with people you enjoy spending time with. Do nothing productive. Sometimes just exist and recharge, because you deciding to rest prevents your mind and body eventually deciding for you with much more disastrous consequences. And then our 7th and final lesson that I have learned over 30 years of lifting things is that comparison is the thief of joy. You just have to do you. So as much as I'm always told you need to post more online if you want to build an online coaching business, I really have to admit, I hate posting on social media. The whole performative aspect of it really gets to me. This whole sort of, hey, look at me and my great life, body, career, house, car. Please click like so that I know you're jealous of me. Things like that. I hate that. And so they say comparison is the thief of joy. And it's true. You can convince yourself by just scrolling a little bit online that your life sucks if you spend long enough comparing yourself with everybody else. There's always someone in the gym lifting more than you, slimmer than you, stronger than you, able to do fancy exercises better than you. But it doesn't matter, because you're not competing with them. You're competing with yesterday's version of you. So if you lifted more than last week and you turned up when you didn't feel like it, that's a win. You win. That's progress for you. This constant comparison stops you being happy with what you have and what you've achieved. In all aspects of life, we need to ignore others because we don't know their full story. We don't know what they've sacrificed or what they're dealing with behind closed doors. There's probably aspects of their lives that you wouldn't want to swap for yours in a million years. So focus on your own progress, your own goals, your own life. Just do you. So those are the 7 lessons that I've learned. I really am happy that a guy that I went to school with when I was 17, Neil, built muscles one summer, came back to school in September and immediately got more girls. And he made me think, hey, I think I need to start lifting some weights too. And no, I did not get more girls, sadly, but that basic weightlifting exercises wall chart got me started on a journey that's helped me stay fit, strong and healthy as I approach 50 this year. But more importantly, it taught me enough about life and what matters. So for you, what I would say ultimately is stay consistent, stay in the game, and don't be scared of wading through that river of risky shit. Make sure to check the description for this episode, where I will put links to some resources that I've created to help guys our age get back in shape without turning life upside down. Plus, you'll find my email address there, chris@alphacoach.com, if you want to reach out because you're curious about working with me one-to-one on a monthly basis to get the accountability, the motivation, and the guidance that you maybe need to kickstart things. But take care of yourself.